Alright, morning everyone. I'm talking quietly because I'm on a train, I don't want to be a bell end. But today is another bike collection journey. So I'm in my bike kit. I've got my helmet, I've got a quick overnight bag and some bits. And I'm on the train from Ashford in Kent to a place called Daisy Hill, which is somewhere near Bolton. I'm hoping that the trains don't go to steam at that point, but you never know. It is up north. So what am I getting? Well, this stems from a conversation recently with an old mate of mine, Neil, talking about maybe getting away and doing some two-up tours next year with the missus. And I was obviously saying to him, well, I use the Hyperstrada, which is essentially my solo touring bike. He then reminded me that when we went to Italy probably 10 years ago for World Ducati Week, a friend of ours, Tim and Mary, went on his Hyperstrada, and he sort of looked at me as if it was, do you remember that? It was a bit of a squeeze. So that got me thinking. I thought, maybe I should buy a proper touring motorcycle for two-up touring. So I had a quick look around, thought about bikes I've ridden before, bought bikes that I've seen before and all that sort of stuff. Did the old AI, what's a good touring motorcycle? Obviously I don't want to spend a heap of money because this might get used a few times a year for maybe one trip and a couple of weekends, and I don't want a big chunk of money sat in the corner of my garage doing absolutely nothing for months and months on end. So it's not an expensive bike. I do want to spend more than a few grand, which is essentially what I'm spending. So join me on my trip to Wigan, and from the bike collection, you'll see what it is when we get to Wigan, that is, or Daisy Hill. From the bike collection, I'm then jumping on the bike and riding north. I know, yeah, when I live south, I'm riding north to visit a friend of mine, John, in Cumbria, lives in Penrith. Have a night with him, couple of beers, curry, whatever, and then spend the day tomorrow riding back. I'm hoping the weather's better because today it's been absolutely pissing down in Kent. It's supposed to be better in Bolton, but time will tell. So next stop, St Pancras in London, and then change to Euston. I'll probably walk it. It's not far from St Pancras to Euston. It's literally 10-15 minutes down the Euston Road. Jump on the rattler there to Wigan, and I think, well, I'll change at Wigan. And anyway, it's all up north, so join me, we'll see how we get on. It's a pain carrying loads of stuff, but at least most of the journey's going to be on the trains. So we'll see you soon. Cheers. This will make you laugh. Some lake gets on at Ebbsfleet, and I'm by the doors, if you can see, and he starts chatting and complaining that there's nowhere to sit because people have got bags on their seats. And he's on the phone to his missus, and he's like some blooming young yardie gangster type roadman, blah blah blah. And anyway, he's chatting shit to his missus about how there's no seats and no one's got respect or whatever. So I looked across and, met eyes with him, and he sort of stared at me, and I thought, fuck you. So guess what I did? I packed my stuff up, I got up, I walked up to him and said, there you go fella, there's a seat for you there. And he looked at me, still on the phone with his missus, a bit shocked, because this old fella's given his seat up, and went, no, you're all right. I went, well, I don't want you stressed about not having a seat, mate. If you want a seat, there it is. And he went, no, I'm getting off at the next stop, which is Stratford, surprise, surprise, which isn't very far away. And I said, yeah, so am I. I wasn't, but, he didn't need to know that. And he said, no, that's your seat. So, yeah, went and sat back down again. But these things piss me off. So I'm having a bit of a moan, bit of a rant. This might not make the video, but if it does, then I quite often have a rant about the youth of today. Signs of getting old. Alright, catch you soon. I take you lot to the best places. Look, toilet camp. I'm on a table with a guy sitting opposite me, and I feel a bit of a twat recording video there. I hope you can hear me. I'm by with my microphone. So on the train now towards Wigan. Wigan, I changed to another train that takes me to a place called Daisy Hill in Lancashire, and that's where I will be getting collected by the guy that's selling the bike. Back to his place, have a quick look at the bike, jump on that, up to Cumbria, meet up with John. He's got a spag bowl all cooked for me. He cooked one at lunchtime, so bit of a spag bowl, a few beers, bit of a chat, and then tomorrow morning the long ride south. So then, Daisy Hill, here we come. When I find the button. Right, bike collection done. I didn't want to do any video at the guy's house because obviously that's a bit invasive, but first stop on the way to the lakes, Lancaster Services, or Lancaster Services from south, and bike's great. I was wearing my jeans, you know, my hood jeans, and it was driving on left. Got on the motorway, got dark, absolutely pissed it down. I mean, torrential. Banged the screen up on the bike. Got a little bit wet on the top of my legs, and my lower legs got wet, but other than that, unbelievably, it stayed remarkably dry. So I stopped to stick my trousers on, change the setting on the nav because it was just too bright for me. It was on like a daylight setting. However, right, let me pause this. I'll spin the camera around. You can have a look what I bought. Prepare to be shocked. It's only a BMW RT. Now I would say it's a thing of beauty, but I would probably be lying. If you're a big RT fan, I'm sure it is a thing of beauty. I love the colour, I've got to say. So that explains why I was mostly dry. I've had the heated seat on, I've had the heated grips on, I've had the screen, I mean it's lowered down now, but I've had the screen wound right up. Honestly, for touring, if you're not scratching the lanes, you're just doing mileage, this has got to be hard to beat. And I've probably only done about 30-40 miles on it. Super comfy, super stable. But anyway, let's get into the review side tomorrow. So far so good. As I say, I've got about 60 miles to go. I will do more of a review in the morning when we've got a bit of daylight and I can show you around the bike. But so far so good. It's a cracking bike, really pleased with it. Well, pleased with it so far for the mileage that I've done. And you'll probably see me in the morning, a bit drier, when I'll do a bit more of a walk around and a bit more of a chat about the bike and how it's gone. See you then. Right, well it's the following day. I made Penrith in good time, had a lovely meal with an old mate John, a couple of whiskies, and we're about to head south on the Beast. I won't say it's a thing of beauty, I'm sure it's in some eyes, but it's a tool to do a job. I think I've got about 100 miles in the tank. It's raining, obviously, and the next stop I think is going to be, it's going to be south somewhere. Anyway, it's going to be a long day. I'll update you on the way. I haven't put the camera on the helmet yet, so you might not get much riding footage, but if it stops raining I will do at some point. Wish me luck, I'll see you soon. Right, I've not been doing any video with the GoPro because it's torrential, the rain is awful. I've not been in conditions like this for a long time, where you can't even see in front of you because of the spray, but it's the perfect bike to do it on. Over Stainmore the temperature dropped to 5.5 degrees, so it's a bit chilly, but put the heated seat on too, very toasty. But yeah, conditions are awful. Let me spin the camera out, bear with me. There we go, there's the Beast. If I zoom out, got my coffee and a bit of chocolate, that'll keep me going for a while. But if you bung that screen up, then I'll keep you dry. I've given it a quick wipe over with some rags, but I mean, obviously I'm under the canopy, but if you can see that, it is lashing down. Not good. So the plan is finish my brew, jump back on, fill the tank up. I arrived it with 9 miles left on the display, and it took, I can still see it, 22.27 litres to fill it up, and that wasn't actually brimmed, so I don't know how much the tank holds, but I'm not sure if I have an awful lot left. But it's to the point where I might even sit it out for a few minutes and see if the rain eases off, because it's just started absolutely pouring down now. So I will see you soon at the next halt, where hopefully the weather will dry a little bit, catch it a bit. So quick lunch stop at wherever I am, just north of Stamford, I think. I can't see any signs, but yeah, it's the services. It's got a Burger King, which we all know is better than McDonald's, and then time to get the beast going. I've given it a bit of a clean. I've cleaned the screen and stuff like that, because the screen gets a bit shitty on the motorway, and it looks like it's drying up. So I'm going to put the GoPro on, see if we can get some miles done with the GoPro. So then, let's spin this camera around. There's the beast in all its glory. I might have to give it a name. I thought about the pig, but that's probably a little bit disrespectful. I just had a fella come up to me and start chatting to me about the bike. He goes, "Oh, if that goes over, you're not picking it up, are you?" And I went, "No, I'm not." And we had a bit of a natter. Told him about the heated seat and stuff. And yeah, he was quite impressed. Anyway, let's get the GoPro on the lid, get my kit back on, and get some more miles. See you soon. Are we on? We're on. I can't see without having mirrors up the top there. Right then. Now the rain has stopped absolutely pissing down. Will you join me on the RT heading south from, we're somewhere near Stamford, I think. Or I think Stamford's just coming up. But so far so good. Now I can actually have a chat without standing in a service station pointing my phone at myself like a bit of a bellend. Or like more of a bellend than I am, but you know what I mean. So, the RT, my first impressions after, what have I done, 250 miles maybe? Up to Cumbria last night, and then back today. Do you know what? It's a bloody cracking bike. I mean, apart from the fact that you're an old man on an old man's BMW, or you're a copper on a BMW, there's an awful lot to like about this. You know, or you can see now why it was BMW's biggest touring motorcycle, apparently, from what you read and see, because it is a cracking bike. I've not had a chance to give it much stick round the twisties, because this is the first time I've seen a dry road since I picked it up yesterday. But handy wise, it seems okay. On the motorways and on the A roads, A66 earlier, it was cracking, even though it was absolutely pissing down. I have given the screen a clean so I can see where I'm going now, because it was a little bit fuzzy. But economy wise, what's going on here? Right. Yeah, economy wise, it says it's doing 60 to the gallon. According to that trip that I reset earlier. We are up to 14.5 degrees now. Oh, thank God for that. Now it says, I filled this up at Scotch Corner, and the sat-nav said I had 286 miles to go. It now says I've got 168 miles to go, and I've got 162 miles of range. So I will need fuel, but if that's to be believed, that's you know, certainly over 250 miles to tank. And the initial part of my journey, when the road was clear, I had the cruise control set at a reasonable motorway speed, shall we say. So it would have probably been a little bit less economical than normal, because I was cracking on a bit just to try and get away from the rain, because the forecast said it would be drier the further south I went. And it's true, it is certainly dry the further south I go. So what have we got on the RT? Well, on this side, the switch gear. The top button is for your heated grips. The next button down is for your heated seat. Oh, I tell you what, coming over, what was it called? Oh, some place up north with mountains and stuff. Staines something? Stainmouth, Stainford, whatever it was anyway, on the A66. I was actually in the cloud
poor visibility. The temperature dropped to 5 degrees. It was a bit chilly. I haven't got any, you know, I've got a pair of motorcycle jeans. I had obviously waterproof trousers and jacket on, but just a pair of hood armoured motorcycle jeans and a jacket, no liner, and then just a sweatshirt underneath. And I did start to get a little bit chilly, so I wound the screen up, I put the seat on, put the grips on, and bingo, life was good. Talking of the screen, I'm hoping that you can hear me because I'm sat in a little envelope of fairly still air. I mean, when you get near trucks and stuff like that, you do get a little bit coming around the sides, but ready for this electric screen. Wind it down, I'm sure you can hear the wind, and then wind it back up. And then if we go for the full extent, the wind comes over the top, and you can feel a little bit of pressure on the back of you, pushing you forward slightly, which is a bit weird. So I run it just down a little bit just to reduce that. But that is really nice because when you want to get full weather protection, you can bang it up. And when I get into towns and stuff, and I actually want to see the road not through a bit of perspex, I could drop it right down. But it works really well. And then on this side, you've got cruise control. The info button just scrolls through stuff on the dash, and then obviously your hazards. You've got your ASC and your ESA, which is your suspension button, and then you've got your screen up and down, and then obviously indicators, horn, headlights, and all that sort of normal stuff. But I'm hugely impressed with this as a touring motorcycle. I couldn't have one as my only bike, not in a million years, because it doesn't do enough that I would want it to do. You know, I like scratching out over my local lanes, and this isn't a scratch out over your local lanes bike. This is a, you know, crossing continents bike in comfort with ease, which from what I've had so far with the 250 miles or so that I've done, it will do quite happily. So yeah, so far so good. Very, very impressed, and you can see now why people rave about it. I know Chris on 44 Teeth, Baron von Grumbler, you might know him as if you don't follow 44 Teeth, I'm sure you do. Anyway, 44 Teeth, the last budget bike battle they did on the 3 bikes, he had one of these. It was an ex-police one. When they strap the girls on the back, if you've seen it, you know what I mean. And if you've seen the uncut version, it's even better. That one couldn't make YouTube. If you've seen it, you'll know why. But yeah, and they didn't auction it off. It went as a prize to someone, and he rode it, and he absolutely loved it. He did a video before it went back to, or went on to the new owner, and he just said, "This is a cool bike." And you know, the coolest bike you got is a bike that you like, and it's absolutely true. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it. The owner, or the previous owner should I say, Marcus, absolutely top bloke. Everything on the bike is as is. He's described everything to me spot on, and I bought this through the UK BMW RT owners group. Which is it's not a huge group. I think it's only about 1,000 members, but everything on there is quality content. I've got to say, the moderators and the admin really keep abreast of any of the spam. Everything on there is good stuff. So if you're not a member and you've got an RT or you're interested, yeah, that's the page to join. I think it's called the UK and Ireland RT 1200 and 1250 group, something like that. Anyway, you'll find it. So yeah, thanks Marcus if you're watching this drivel. It's a cracking bike, and it's going to get a lot of use, you know, over to the continent and what have you. Right then, let me get some more miles done. Oh, I've got 162 miles to go now, and I'm showing 162 miles of range. Ooh, are you thinking what I'm thinking? I'm thinking if I keep the speed maybe down a little bit to sort of UK motorway speeds, not that I was going above that earlier, obviously, but if I keep the speed down to sort of 70ish, do you reckon I'll get back, or will this do a Ducati thing? Now the Ducati thing is, and I've had this on multiple Ducatis, you fill the tank up, you look at the range and it will say, and old Luigi will go, hey, yeah, you have 250 miles of range. And you go, oh, nice one, great. And you ride the bike and it still says, 250 or whatever. Then it will creep down slowly. You think, oh, I'm getting some cracking mileage out of this tank. And it will go down to 150 miles. And you think, oh, this is doing really well. And then you'll glance at the scenery, have a bit of a look around. Mere seconds later, you glance back at the dashboard and the fucking fuel light's flashing at you and you've got like 10 miles. Because all of a sudden the fuel sender has gone, oh, hold on a minute. Yeah, we haven't got a lot of petrol left, I better tell him that. I'm hoping this doesn't do that. That's definitely a Italian Ducati thing where the fuel gauge lies at you. And this being a 2011 bike should have the better fuel sender, because the 2010s apparently the fuel strip wasn't reliable, but we'll find out. So just turn the cruise off, turn it back on. So yeah, 161 miles, 164 of range. Do you know what? I might give this a go. Yeah, I might give it a go. You'll find out in a little bit. I mean, I'll probably have to stop for a wee at some point because I've had a couple of coffees, but dare I put fuel in or don't I? The big question. If this does 286 miles to a tank when the first 100 miles was at a reasonable pace, I'll be hugely impressed. Let's find out. Let's give it a go. Right, catch you soon. And we're back, however many miles later. I've now got 100 miles, till I like 99 miles till I get home, and 99 miles on the tank range on the screen there. So what are we thinking? I mean, to be fair, it's been up and down as my speed has increased and decreased a few times. A couple of miles up, couple of miles down, but we're within a mile of it now. I'm not going to push it to 0 miles on the trip, because that would just be a bit silly, wouldn't it, running out of fuel on the motorway. That's going to get you into trouble. So I think I am going to have to chuck some fuel in at some point. However, when I do, obviously I'll have a quick look at the mileage, a quick look at the screen, because this seems pretty accurate. I've got to be honest with you, it seems pretty accurate. And I know I can run it down to 9 miles because that's what I did when I filled up after leaving Cumbria, because Scotch Corner was further than I thought with the range that I had. So what I'm going to do is it's going to be Lakeside, I reckon, Thurrock, which is just by the Dartford crossing. I'll do a splash and dash there, I'll chuck a couple of gallons in just to tide me over to get home and make sure I've got a bit of fuel for faffing around with. And then we'll have a quick look at how many miles that is, as I say, on the sat-nav and on the range. And that should give us a rough idea of what it would do in real world situations, because I have had the cruise control now set at bang on 70, whereas before I was cruising at, should we say, European speeds? Would that be an accurate description? I think it probably would. You get my drift anyway. So the range has certainly picked up a little bit since I've been sat at 70, but it is a good real world test, because there have been a couple of times where I've been in traffic that's dropped down to like temporary 50 limits and stuff like that, where I've just banged the cruise on at 50 so that you don't risk getting a ticket, and just sat there, and that would have picked it up a little bit. But so far so good. It's a cracking bike, I've got to say. I'm really enjoying it, and I never thought I would be saying that. This was bought as simply a tool for the wife to jump on the back and for us to get away and do some Euro trips with some friends, over the summer, just to try and get more into obviously being on the back of the bike in a little bit of comfort, because it's not a nice holiday away if it's not very comfortable and you don't enjoy being on the back of the bike. So time will tell. If it doesn't work, well, it doesn't work. I might still keep it anyway, because if I need to go from A to B, chuck some stuff in the back of it and crack on. This is going to be the perfect bike to do that. You know, it's not the Hyper. If I'm going to go away with some mates on my own and we do Alpine passes, then the Hyper style is going to win every day, because you can chuck the luggage on, but then when you get there you can ride it like a complete bell end. You could probably ride this like a bell end, but it's got its limits, which are going to be a lot lower than maybe your sort of fun threshold with the rest of your mates. But anyway, I'm digressing now, aren't I? I'm waffling. Let's see what happens when we get to Lakeside, unless this does a Ducati trick and plummets massively and the fuel light comes on and starts flashing at me in about 3 miles time. But yeah, so far so good. I have done 190 miles on this tank so far. 191 miles on this tank, and it's still saying 94 miles of range. You can't grumble about that. Right then, unless anything interesting happens, next stop's going to be Lakeside Services, I'll guess. See you in a bit. Right, a bit of a sit rep. Didn't think you'd be seeing me until the services. However, M11, the traffic's been a bit crap. I mean, we're in the south of England, southeast of England now. Well, let's open it up now. And we were doing sort of 55, 60s in traffic for probably the last 15 to 20 miles, something like that. And my economy, I've now got 72 miles remaining, but 82 in the tank, which would leave me 10 miles in the tank when I get home. If that stays consistent, if that stays consistent, I'm going to see if I can get home on a tank from Scotch Corner, 286 miles. So I'm going to keep an eye on it, stick the tunes back on, stick it at 70 again, well, with the flow of the traffic, because at the moment we're not even doing 70. I could do 70 in the in lane 3 outside lane, but by keeping it a few miles below 70, I think I'm making up for my first 100 miles, which were 70-ish, if you catch my drift. So it may average out over the tank. That is a achievable figure. Join me in a while where either it does a Ducati and plummets, or it stays similar to the Nav, and we do squeeze it out of a tank, which would be incredible. And if you deliberately tried to get some miles out of the tank, you could achieve that no problem. As I say, my first 100 miles were spirited on open motorways, even though it was raining. This is a good old barge for ploughing through those sort of conditions, and my speed may or may not have been around the 70-ish mark without incriminating myself. So if you stuck to 70 the whole way, I reckon that'd be a piece of piss, absolute piece of piss. But let's see, and I'll update you as we get on. So yeah, back up to 70s, which is nice, and we are, 8 miles difference between the two readings. You'll find out soon, won't you? It's too heavy to push. That's the only thing. It's too heavy to push. I do not want to run out on the motorway, because that's going to get you some. That's going to get you a fine and probably some points, I would guess. But let's see what happens. Catch you in a bit. Well, we're on the M25, and we've hit one of the obligatory, they're always on, 50 mile an hour average speed. Down to 40 now, look at this, 40 mile an hour average speed zones. So I'm guessing we've got some traffic ahead. Now it's good and bad news really. It's bad news because it's a pain in the arse, because it's 40 mile an hour on the motorway. But it's good news because all of a sudden I've turned into Jeremy Clarkson. Do you remember that Top Gear one? Well, I think they've turned the lights on at Blackpool Illuminations, and he didn't want to, so he floored his car. I think he had a Jag. So he floored it for the first load of miles, and then realised it was actually doing better than he thought, and he might actually get there on the fuel. and all of a sudden he turned into James May, you know, hypermiling. Well, I'm afraid to say I've just got into a bit of that. I'm just all of a sudden I thought I pinned it to start with because I thought that never going to happen, and now all of a sudden I'm 10 miles different. I'm 10 miles in credit because we've been slowed in traffic, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, do you know what, I might be able to do this. I might be able to turn the lights on at Christmas, or the police lights on the hard shoulder. It's going to be one or the other, but at the moment I'm thinking I might go for this. Let's see what happens. It's going to go one way or the other. Look at this. You probably can't see that. It's only John McGuinness, multiple TT champion. I'm guessing the TT now he's semi-retired. He's into roofing. Look at that. The people you meet on the M25. Oh, fuel light. Look at that. That's good timing. Fuel light's just come on. 60 miles that says, and what have we got? 51 miles to go. So the fuel lights come on in Essex. The fuel light has come on with 51 miles to go. What do we think, people? Let's find out. I keep saying let's find out because that's all we're going to do, isn't it? Back in a bit. I'm back and we're sitting at roughly 40 miles an hour now over the Queen Elizabeth II bridge, which goes over the River Thames, sort of in Kent. And no, I didn't stop at Thurrock Lakeside, I carried on. However, the fuel gauge did do a bit of a Ducati thing. Hey, another RT. I wonder if he's on the RT page. I might stick a post up later. How about that? Yeah, the fuel gauge did do another bit of a Ducati thing where it dropped sort of 5 miles and then 10 miles, and now we're actually at 43 there, 43 there. So I think I am going to have to get fuel unless it changes, which it probably won't. We'll find out, but I'm going to have to go get fuel somewhere. So now I'm trying to think where I can get fuel. I know there's the Maidstone Services, which is about 15 miles from my house. So as long as this doesn't do anything daft, we should be okay for 15 miles. So let's carry on and we'll see what happens. Oh, there you go. The River Thames, if you want to know what it looks like. And there's the City of London, which you probably can't see because it's in the distance in the mist, but there you go. Right then, I should see at the services or on the hard shoulder. I know which one I prefer. Well, I've got some polos in my pannier. Yeah, it's windy, so at least I can have some polos while I'm waiting. Right then, let's see what happens. It's not meant to be. The fuel gauge actually started dropping quicker than it had been pretty much the whole journey once that light came on, and it got down to about 35 miles maybe. The fuel gauge dropped disproportionately to the whole previous journey. Now I don't know whether that's the sneaky Germans deciding to make sure that you do actually stop for fuel, because obviously you go, oh shit, I really do need fuel, or whether it is just the fuel sender and the way it's set up. But I have 7 miles on the trip and it is 17 miles home, and this is the last services at the last junction before I get home, so I have no choice but to stop and fill up. I am going to fill the tank up because that should give me an idea of real world miles per gallon, because I know I stopped at 9 miles the last time, but I'm gonna fill up, and obviously I didn't I know roughly, you know, how I filled it up to the clicks and all that sort of stuff, so I'm going to try and replicate that as best as I can. It's not going to be scientific, but hopefully it'll be close enough. The other thing that pains me is the cost of fuel here, so I am just going to bung in normal unleaded, and that pains me because I use super in everything. But as this isn't going to be a bike that I'm going to be pinching fuel out of for my other bikes, which is why I put super in everything, it can have the box stock stuff. So let's get the gas cap off and we'll see how much it takes. There we go, that is as good as I can make it from before. 22.54 litres. 22.54, and how many miles have we done? Let's come back to that. Let me go pay and I'll come back to that. Well, I just pulled off the pump just to get out of the way, and oh, that's funny, it's just gone up to 18. That just said 17 just now. So basically I have done, near as damn it, 270 miles on that tank, and I'm quite happy. Had I moderated my speed more in the first 100 miles, I'd have done that on one tank. Yeah, not bad, eh? Not bad, considering, and it's done the same. It says 231 miles. Now, I think when I last filled it up at Scotch Corner, it said something similar to that, and it just didn't go down. I think it started off at like 197, then it went 217, then 230 something. It didn't go down for ages. So whether it stays at that sort of level and just lets the fuel tank drain, I don't know. Hey, who knows? But happy days. I'm going to have a little think about what I want to say just to sort of summarise this video on the way back, because I've only got, like I say, 17-18 miles to go now, and I'll let you know what I think of the RT. And yeah, nearly home. So what a day. Right then, let's have a think and I'll have a chat. Back in a sec. Right, I've had a few minutes to have a quick think about what I was going to say, and it's difficult to think because the positives of this bike far outweigh the negatives. I mean, the positives are, if you want a mile munching cruiser which will quite comfortably cruise at reasonable pace, shall we say, and put you in not a still bubble of air, but you can probably hear me a lot clearer than you can on my other bikes, with the screen, I think it's in its highest position at the moment. You could cover huge distances on one of these rather rapidly. I mean, obviously the fuel economy will probably suffer, as I found out earlier, but if you want to cross continents in total comfort, it's hard to beat for the money. I mean, you can start picking up these RTs, the earlier ones, for sort of £2,000 and upwards, really. And as I say, this is a 2011 model. It's done 49,000 miles now, and it cost me £3,100, and it is in lovely condition from a great seller. It's a genuine bike, you know. It's done the best part of 50,000 miles, so it's going to have the odd little thing here and there, but that's what's expected. But overall, it's in superb condition. If this was maybe a Japanese bike with 50,000 miles on it, it wouldn't be quite so good. Now, I have run Beamers to that mileage before. I did 64,000 miles on an S1000 XR in all weathers, and that stood up really well. But obviously the RT is an older bike with sort of different tech and what have you. But yeah, I mean, for me, the positives: comfort, the motor's nice, it's not going to break any records, but it's a nice torquey lump. You don't want to lug it around at too low a revs, a bit like a Ducati. It's still a twin. You don't want it to get too lumpy down the bottom end, so I normally let them sort of spin over 2,750, 3,000, something like that, just to make it a bit smoother. The seat's comfy. What have I done the last 24 hours? I've done 450 miles since I picked it up last night. Rode north in the pissing rain and rode south in the pissing rain. It's only been the last probably couple 100 miles, and it's actually been dry like this but overcast. The heated grips are fantastic. I'm not a fan of these foam grips. They're not standard. They're a bit too fat for my hands, so I might have to do something with those, but obviously that's not a negative for the RT. That's just this bike. Heated seat, what a bonus. First time I've ever ridden a bike with a heated seat, and it is bloody superb, I've got to say. It makes all the difference to keeping your body a little bit warmer. I've got full heated kit, which I didn't bring with me because it wasn't going to be that cold, but in the winter I would wear my full heated kit without a doubt, because I just like being toasty. But what isn't there to like on this? If you want to munch the miles and you don't give two shits about what people think about what you're riding, let's say, I'll try and, if I can link that video that Chris from 44 Teeth made, I will. I'll try and link it below. I mean, all the owners, you go on the RT owners page and they love them. They absolutely love them. And you can see why. I mean, these bikes aren't without their faults. The earlier bikes had fuel sender issues. You know, and there are going to be odds and sods. I think the other one was later bikes have issues with the shaft drive. You know, all sorts of stuff like that. But on the whole, these are very reliable bikes, and if you look on the second-hand market, they've all done big miles. You know, 50,000 miles, 49,000 isn't uncommon for this age of bike, which is a good sign to me. It means they get used, they get ridden, you know, they get toured, which is what people buy them for. Everyone on the page is an enthusiast. They all love them. I mean, the only really negative is the bulk and the weight. It is a heavy bike. You know, when you're sliding it backwards, I'm not a big guy. When you're pushing it backwards, it's even forwards. It's a lump. I'd love it to have a reverse gear, but alas, that isn't the case. That would be my negative. There will become a point where I park it on a downhill slope and have to get someone to help me push it backwards, like on John's drive this morning. It is going to happen. You have got to be wary about where you park. You know, or big Jeff Capes, which certain people of a certain age probably know who I mean. And if you're of a certain age, you'll be watching this video. But I've got to say, what a cracking bike. You know, I can feel that I've done some miles today, because I haven't done a lot of miles for a long time. I used to do a lot of miles, but you know, not so much these days because I don't ride for work anymore. And I can feel that I've done some miles, but honestly, I don't feel tired. My arse is not, you know, it's not numb or anything like that, but I know I've been sat on a seat for a long time, even though this is the comfort seat. But then I've been, what have I been, 6-7 hours in the saddle, I suppose, something like that. So that's not to be unexpected. But I would quite happily bang in a couple of 100 more miles on this. You know, I'm not thinking, oh, I need to get off the bike. I'm thinking, yeah, happy days. So all in all, yeah, a big thumbs up for me, for the RT. What a bike. Absolutely pleased that I got hold of this one. And as I say, Marcus, again, thanks very much. This has been a great bike. And I'll have fun going over a little bits and trying to fit the crash bars that I've got and, you know, stuff like that. Working out how everything works, read the book, stuff like that, which we all do. So anyway, thanks for watching if you're watching. And there will be more RT stuff if you want to click in and subscribe and all that sort of waffle. I'm at my junction now, look at that. And if you like bike stuff, there's more various bike stuff on my channel. So as usual, if you're riding, stay safe. If you're not riding, watch crap videos on YouTube and think about riding your bike. Go clean your bike. Look at buying bikes. Buy something inappropriate and pig ugly, a bit like this. And enjoy it. But the main thing is get out riding. Have your bit of motorcycle therapy. And I'll catch you soon. Take care, everyone. See you later.